Banjo-Kazooie. I already made a video about this game. Go watch it if you haven't already. I love that game to death. Just, if you think I sound bored in that video, it's because I wasn't really used to making these kinds of videos yet. But long story short, Banjo-Kazooie is up there as one of my favorite games of all time. I love that game to death. I go play it. It's an awesome game. That's right. This is a big boy game, for only the kind of gamers who are looking for masterpieces and nothing lower than a 9.5 out of 10. The game was so good that I got a sequel 2 years later. Banjo-Tooie. I've actually never played this game. That's right, unlike every other review I've made, Banjo-Tooie is the only one that I have not played until making this video. I first heard of it during the same time I was doing research on the series back in 2019, when Banjo got added to Smash. The first game I watched a full playthrough of, watched reviews, all of that until I finally played the game myself in 2022. Tooie, on the other hand, I started watching a full-on playthrough of it shortly after finishing Banjo-Kazooie's playthrough, but stopped watching it on the 4th level due to getting bored. And everyone said the same thing. The first game is better than the second game. And I believed that for a long time until I stumbled across a YouTuber who had a different opinion. Tooie is better than Kazooie. I'm not going to say who it is because that's a surprise tool that'll help us later. And before we start, there's something I want to show you guys. Yeah, I own the game complete in box. So I've actually had this game for a while now. I got it for Christmas in 2024, but just let it sit on the shelf until I make this video, cause I already had all these planned out last year before they became a thing. Yeah, that's a little fun fact. So I just let Tooie sit there until now. So let's go ahead and unbox this. Don't worry, it won't take long. Alright, so we have the box itself, this way. And yeah, it looks really nice. I really like all the pictures on the back. It shows you, like, you know, the games it has. If you look closely, not sure if my camera will focus on it. Yeah, it won't, but yeah, the images I've always loved about this is that it's higher quality than what you see in the game. Like the images look more higher res. So let's open up and see what all it has. I actually have it in one of those plastic cases for these boxed games, so it helps them stay, you know, in better condition over time. Anyways, here it is, Banjo-Tooie. We got the full cardboard box right here now. I've always loved this box art. It's just like, you know, big characters on a big title. YouTubers and thumbnails be like. This is that box. Anyways, the bear and bird are back. So let's see what all's in here. Pack it up. We got an advertisement for the player's guide of the game, and it's free if you're subscribed to Nintendo Power, which yeah, they don't do this stuff anymore. All right, so inside we got all this inside. Don't choke when there are jiggies on the line. We also got some on the back. This Kazooie render and more Nintendo Power stuff. So yeah, I've always loved inserts like that. So and then we got the Nintendo 64 manual itself. You know, pretty boring stuff. Hey, there we go. And then the highlight of the show, the manual. I love video game manuals. Yeah, we have everything. I love how, like, back then, you know, whenever controllers with wires were the standard, it explains that if you hold the joystick in a direction when you turn on the game, it will, like, the default input. That's right here. The default input will be whatever you did here. So you don't want to mess with the joystick whenever you turn on a console. And as the proper way to hold it right here, because, you know, it's the 64 controller. No one knew how to hold that thing. Yeah, we have all these renders and stuff talking about the game itself. Oh, in the table of contents, we got 2 years have passed since it's been 2 years since the first game in Tooie's plot. Starting an adventure, Who's Hooey and Tooie, Bear and Bird controls, Jam Jar's advanced abilities, Backpack Booty, what useful features, special places to visit, the Isle o' Hags tour guide, and warranty and service information. Yeah, I adore these renders so much. Look at that. Look how clean that controller is. Yeah, those are the inserts, and of course, the highlight of it all, the game itself. So now that I've unboxed it, let's finally put the game in. So yeah, I'm practically playing this game blind. which is, again, the first time I've ever done this on this channel before, so... Before we play the game, though, there is someone I'd like to introduce to you guys, who will be helping me review this game, and you may have heard of him. This guy is not only the biggest Tooie fan I know, but also the biggest Rareware fan I know. That's right, give it up for the best retro gaming creator according to his mom.
You look back! Yo, what's up, Nimblasto Nation? I heard we were talking about Banjo-Tooie, so you know I had to butt in on this conversation. Let's do it.
So without further ado, let's see if this game really is better than the first game, or if it is just a confusing and boring mess. It has now been 25 years since Banjo-Tooie released, so let's see how well it holds up now.
The game opens explaining that it's been 2 whole years since the events of the first game. And the gap between the first game's release and the second game's release was in fact 2 years, so that's a pretty dope little connection. And that Klungo, Gruntilda's secretary from the first game, still trying to move that boulder that fell on her.
Meanwhile, Banjo, Kazooie, Mumbo Jumbo, and Bottles the Mole are playing a game of poker while it's raining in the night. Banjo's sister, Tootie, is nowhere to be seen, and it's most likely because she moved away after the events of the first game due to not wanting to risk being captured again or something. That, or she actually is just missing. And right off the bat, this cutscene is filled with great animation. Mumbo play well, as much of Bear's cash.
He's right, Kazooie. There goes your birdseed money.
Don't be so sure, Banjo. Hey, look outside, everyone. Woody the Witch is coming.
Where, Kazooie? I can see her.
False alarm, Bottles. Must have been some shadows.
But while they're enjoying their game, the whole house begins to shake, and we see that a big ground digger appears in Spiral Mountain, and 2 witches emerge from it, Mingella and Blobelda, Gruntilda's sisters.
Mumbo decides to go out and investigate what was going on outside, so he found a hiding spot and watched as the 2 witches began using a magic spell to lift the boulder from the ground.
A now full skeleton of Grunty emerges from the hole, and is somehow still alive? You know, she's dead, but not dead.
You're dead, but not quite.
And again, the animations are insanely good. Eventually the witches spot Mumbo, and he evacuates as fast as he can back to Banjo's house, telling everyone that Grunty is back, and is about to shoot everyone with a magic spell. Bottles, on the other hand, thinks it's a prank, and this results in the worst outcome for him. The witches leave Spiral Mountain after the attack, and leaves Klungo behind, so that he can guard the areas where the witches fled.
It's now morning in Spiral Mountain, and the rain has stopped. Banjo's house is now destroyed, but luckily everyone made it out safely, except for Bottles.
Yo, up, oh, come on, up.
With Bottles now dead, yes, that's right, dead, and not only Banjo's house being destroyed, but all of Spiral Mountain along with it, Banjo, Kazooie, and Mumbo all decide to end Grunty's revenge and stop her from ever coming back to Spiral Mountain, as well as her sisters.
Bottles' angel lingers above his body in a cartoon fashion, and has a lot of funny comments.
Right off the bat, you have all your moves from the first game. But now there's been a few tweaks, like how the roll feels a lot smoother to control now. The claw swipe has been replaced with a beak jab similar to the one Kazooie does in the air, and stuff like flying now feels a lot better to control. But those aren't the only controls we'll learn in the game. Just like the first game, the tutorial area is Spiral Mountain, but now it's completely destroyed thanks to Grunty and her sisters, already showing what kind of tone this game has compared to the first game.
And when entering Grunty's lair, you see that the place is also destroyed, so you can't enter any of the areas that were in the first game. But we do find Gruntilda's spellbook, who had his pages ripped out from Grunty since he helped you in the last game. So he says if you find his pages, he'll tell you some old and even new spells to learn to help you. But after familiarizing your moves from the first game, you enter where the Ground Digger came from, and fight Klungo. It's really easy, no comments needed. And we are brought to this game's main hub world, the Isle o' Hags. And the first place we enter here is Jinjo Village. That's right, remember those guys from the first game? This is where they all live. And we meet the leader of all the Jinjos, King Jingling. This is by far the most chill king I have ever met in a video game. Heck, even in all of media. He says that the village is empty due to the witch's Ground Digger scaring all of the Jinjos out of the village. So it's up to us to find them and bring them back here safe.
He also mentions this guy named Lord Jiggy Wiggy, and we should go see him after obtaining our very first Jiggy as a gift from Jingling. Meanwhile,
Grunty and her sisters have made it to a ginormous tower somewhere located in the Isle o' Hags. And Grunty's sisters show her a new invention the two sisters worked on together before finding Grunty's body, and that is the Big O Blaster, Bob for short. What this does is suck the life out of anything that the laser hits, so that Grunty can have a new body. So they allow Grunty to test it out, and they do so on King Jingling. Now the meter on how much energy they need for Grunty's new body has gone up a bit, and Grunty has a genius idea of sucking the life out of everyone on the Isle o' Hags. But Minghella tells Grunty that that would take a very long time, and that Banjo would seek revenge. But Grunty declares that Banjo will never make it in time before the Bob is fully charged.
the way to his temple is through Bottle's house. And Banjo, being the kind-hearted soul that he is, decides not to tell Bottle's wife and kids what happened to him. On the plus side, one of the kids has a DK plush, and they both have posters of characters from Jet Force Gemini. We make our way through Bottle's house and into the temple, and meet my papa himself, Lord Jiggy Wiggy. And with the Jiggy King Jingling gave us, we can start our first puzzle. The puzzles are pretty fun, but nothing crazy hard or anything. This is just how you unlock each level, and after that, we can finally move on to the very first level of the game.
Mayhem Temple is the first level in the game, and right in the beginning, we meet a new character named Jam Jars, who is Bottle's brother. He's the one who will teach you the new moves in the game, since, well, Bottles is dead, and there is a lot of new ones to learn.
The collectibles in this game are a bit different than how they are in the first game. Stuff like music notes and eggs were scattered everywhere, but now they're in bunches, and you get multiple at a time when you collect them. This time around, notes actually save when you get them, which is a nice change. They didn't in the first game unless you were playing the Xbox version, which, go play N64. Jiggies, of course, are still the main collectible, but now they can be a lot harder to get. In the first game, you normally got them from doing simple tasks, but now they require a bit more to do to earn them. The Jinjos are back, but now there's a heck lot more of them, and instead of just getting 5 per level and getting a Jiggy, you now get Jiggies by collecting all of the same color. And when you collect them, they're sent back to their houses in Jinjo Village, and you can visit them. That's nice. Except the great Jinjos. And then there's the more rare collectibles like the empty honeycombs that you take to Honey Bee in the Isle o' Hags in exchange for extra health. and of course Cheeto pages. Bringing them to him will unlock a new cheat to use, and these consist of being able to hold extra eggs, feathers, getting rid of fall damage, eggs homing in on enemies. There's a lot to find.
As for the moves you learn, Jam Jars will teach you new ones if you have enough music notes, and I adore these new moves so much. You can use Kazooie as a gun in these special areas. The Beak Buster can now be used as a jackhammer. 1, 2, 3, 4 new eggs to be used. You got fire, grenade, ice, and I love that. Banjo and Kazooie can now be played separately thanks to these new pads, and this introduces even more moves. Banjo now has multiple moves with his backpack, and Kazooie is just so much fun to play by herself. She's even faster to control, and she can glide by herself now, and also jump significantly higher. You've got a bunch of other stuff like more shoes to wear, like the Bounco shoes, and the Suckotron shoes. And if you go back to Spiral Mountain with these new moves, you can break a boulder that crushed Banjo's goldfish, and when you take him to the river, he gives you the ability to swim faster than before, making this probably the best water controls I've ever felt in a video game. And Mumbo is playable now. In the last game, he would transform Banjo into a variety of different things. Now, you give him a magical creature called the Globo, and he'll be playable. He does a lot of stuff with his magic, like making the water in Jolly Roger's Lagoon be breathable for Banjo and Kazooie, or how in Cloud Cuckoo Land, he makes it rain so that Banjo can go over a rainbow. However, transformations are not completely abandoned. In fact, they're even better in this game than the first. And there's actually a brand new character who transforms Banjo this time around. Her name is Humba Wumba, a Native American who claims she is better than Mumbo. And I can confirm that she is a worthy rival, because these transformations are awesome! Speaking of which, Transformaaaaations. This gives the game more variety.
By giving a Globo to Humba, she can transform Banjo into a variety of things, like a Stony to compete in a kickball tournament, blowing up rocks as literal TNT, or even becoming a freaking T-Rex. These transformations are way better than they were in Kazooie. The Bee transformation was the only one that carried over from the first game, but it now controls a lot better and has an attack move. That's the best part about all the transformations in Tooie, they can actually do stuff. In the first game, it was more or less to just change your size. In Tooie, they all have their own moveset. It's nice.
Every level in this game is massive and ginormous compared to the first game. The first game's level size was about as big as Mario 64's levels. Banjo-Tooie, on the other hand, the best game I can compare these levels with would be Donkey Kong 64, and that game was also made by Rare. And if you played DK64, you know that the levels in that game are big. Tooie's is no exception, because look at how massive these levels are.
A lot of the reasons why this game gets hate nowadays is because of how big the levels are. A lot of people say these levels are big and empty, and there's too much backtracking. And while there is backtracking, it's nothing too ridiculous, and it's really only required for 16 jiggies, and you only need to collect 70 of the total of 90. So you have a good buffer, and if you really wanted to, you don't have to do any backtracking whatsoever. But the missions are pretty fun when you do have to do backtracking, and it adds to the interconnectivity of the world, so can't complain too much. A good thing to keep in mind is that the first game was inspired by Mario 64, and while this game was inspired more by Ocarina of Time, so it's supposed to feel a bit more like an adventurer than a platformer. So levels are bigger to make you want to explore every nook and cranny.
Plus, every level is connected. Like for example, you go in here in Mayhem Temple, and you're brought to Glitter Gulch Mine, and if you don't want to go back to the hub world to a certain level, you can just take the train, which is connected to almost every level in the game. There is just one mission I'm not too fond with in this game, and that is the Dinosaur Kids in Pterodactyl Land. You have to help 3 of them to get 1 Jiggy, but the worst one of them is definitely the one that is sick. Want to know what you have to do with this one? You have to put her in Banjo's backpack, put her in the train, take the train to Isle Hags, go to Mumbo's hut to play as him, step on this path so that you can heal the dino, take the train back to Pterodactyl Land, and get your Jiggy. That was awful.
If you've played DK64, then you remember that there's a whole bunch of minigames, and for that matter, if you've played any Rare game, you know there's a whole bunch of minigames. Some of these were pretty decent, while others were just kinda boring or completely broken. Tooie, on the other hand, has really fun minigames, and none of them repeat really except for the kickball tournaments. There's so much variety, like shooting targets in a UFO, going through hoops as Kazooie, attacking these germs, and shooting bees as a bee yourself. There's so many of these and they're all pretty fun. There's even some that you play in a first-person mode, GoldenEye style. There's also a couple search and destroy missions where you have to use Kazooie to break like dynamite or, break down poo, whatever this is. It's great. It can be difficult though, so you want to be careful.
And there is just one more minigame I want to talk about, that is, if you can even call it a minigame, and it's what Tooie fans dread the most. In Glitter Gulch Mine, you enter a room full of toxic gas, and meet a sad bird named Canary Mary, who is locked up in this cage and is going to die soon. But after we set her free, she goes over here, and we can race her on the track. And the first two races are fine, but when she goes to Cloud Cuckoo Land, that's where things get serious. First race, still easy, but the second race, this can be brutal. If you do not know the trick, that is, you better say your prayers because it's painfully hard. The trick is that she's rubber banding, which in case you didn't know, is in multiple racing games like in Mario Kart 64, where if you're too ahead of the CPUs will speed up and get closer to you. So with this in mind, I was able to beat her on like my 5th attempt, but I know it would have been way worse if I didn't know that. Plus Mario Party trained me.
Stop and Swap was an idea that the devs had for some Rare games. If you take a cartridge out of the console, there's still data loaded on the N64, so the idea was putting a different game in will load that data onto the next game you put in. And there were multiple plans for this, and it was explained at the end of Banjo-Kazooie. But the idea was scrapped due to multiple reasons, like kids possibly breaking the games or the system by doing that method, especially when Nintendo made a future revision to the N64 console. But Rare did have a plan B. These little copies of the first game wander around in Tooie's hub world in secret areas, and with the new moves you learn throughout the game, you can access these secret areas, and beating a game pack will result in you obtaining a leftover secret from Stop and Swap. Some of these are in eggs, so you take them to a chicken coop in the Isle of Eggs for this hen to lay on, and the secret hatched out. One of them even has a new move for Banjo and Kazooie to learn. Arguably the best move in the game.
Another one of these game packs holds an ice key. You know, that thing that was out of reach in the first game? Well, when I found this giant chest in Tooie, I knew one thing and one thing only. This thing can only be unlocked by the ice key that is locked up in the first game. But I didn't know it was even possible to open it because I found this before I knew Stop and Swap was reworked into the game. So it wasn't until I got the ice key when I figured it all out. Taking it to the ice chest reveals a giant Globo, and taking it to Humba Wumba in the Isle of Hags allows her to turn Kazooie into a dragon. All of these are really dang cool, but sadly all of the stuff that was supposed to work in the first game, like the secret island that appears in Treasure Trove Cove, never saw the light of day. But at least we got all the things planned for Tooie.
This is an N64 game, so of course the game has a lot of low poly goodness. However, this game is an absolute technical marvel for the N64, and it doesn't even use the expansion pack for additional graphical features. The game's lighting is significantly better than the first game's, the texture quality is off the charts, and even the character models look better than the first game. But sadly, in return, the game's frame rate is a bit unstable and can get really laggy. If you're playing this on Switch Online or the Xbox Remaster, you're not going to see these frame rate issues, but N64 is king, so definitely play that version. It really pushed the console to the limits, and it just shows how impressive Rare was at developing games for this system.
And in case you didn't notice, this game fully supports widescreen. That's right, if you thought I was evil and stretched the footage, you can think again. However, I've heard that playing in widescreen can make the game even laggier, since the console is trying to run even more stuff on screen. But the more you play the game, the more you get used to the lag. Donkey Kong 64. This game definitely has my favorite bosses out of any game ever. They're so fair and balanced, and super fun to play even on the 50th replay. So I was excited to play the bosses in Tooie since the first game only really had bigger enemies and not bosses outside the final one.
The bosses in Tooie are Target San, Old King Cole, Mr. Patch, Lord Wu Fok Fok, Terry, Weldar, Chili Billy, Chili Willy, and Minji Django. Don't forget about Gruntilda. Some bosses are definitely better than others, but they were all fun and unique. They also all require eggs to beat them, but the way you attack them is different, like Target San's just timing when you shoot your eggs, but Billy and Willy require you to shoot the fire and ice eggs respectively in the cannon, and it makes them bigger and blows his face off. It's kind of awesome actually. Mr. Patch and Wu Fok Fok require you to shoot grenade eggs in specific places, except one takes place in the air and the other takes place underwater. And then there's Minji Django, who disguises himself as Mumbo Jumbo but attacks when you go into his fake skull, and the more you damage him, the more he's revealed to be a robot.
My favorite boss in this game is definitely Weldar. This is a giant blowtorch that can't tell what you are due to not having his glasses on, but decides to attack you anyway since he's already out and about. This one feels the most like a DK64 boss, because he does a variety of attacks that can be hard to avoid if you're not careful, and when he does his inhale move, that's your chance to strike with a grenade. And again, look at how insane the texture quality is! All of these bosses are great, but I can't deny that I struggled on some of them. Like Lord Wu Fak Fak, quite the name, was definitely a challenge due to him having such precise aim on his projectiles. Oh yeah, forgot to mention Klungo. He's this game's mini-boss. He shows up at the beginning, midway through, and near the end of the game, but each fight is ultra easy. Poor guy can't catch a break from Grunty's punishment. But yeah, I enjoyed all these bosses, but I still don't think they're DK64 level, huh.
We don't need to talk about which Banjo game has the better music, because both of them really have great soundtracks. Is there anything that Tooie does differently? Nope, not really. Just like the first game, the songs perfectly fit into the atmosphere of the levels, and they're certified bops to listen to. Songs like Jinjo Village live rent-free in my head all the time.
The Fireside of Hailfire Peaks is definitely one of my favorites. Grunty Industries, one of Tooie's most infamous levels, but I absolutely adored it. Outside of the factory, it goes.
After getting enough jiggies, we can unlock the final level of the game, Cauldron Keep, and we fight Klungo one last time, but since he's super easy, there's nothing really noteworthy here. But after we defeat him, he decides his days of being Grunty's assistant are over since nothing he do ever works against Banjo, and he just gets beaten for it. So he retreats off to Jinjo Village, and we encounter Grunty. But before we battle her, we get to play a little game just like with the first game, the Tower of Tragedy. This works similarly to the Furnace of Fun, but there are quite a few differences. The idea remains the same: answer a question that Grunty says correctly or get punished by failing. However, Banjo has company with him this time around. That's right, Grunty's willing to risk her sister's lives just to bring Banjo down. The questions are similar to the ones of the first game, like guessing this character's name, what level this is a screenshot from, etc. And if you succeed, you get to watch Grunty's sisters die right in front of your eyes. But once you've completed enough quizzes, Grunty flees again, and the credits roll. but we all know those aren't the real credits.
Before we finish off Grunty, we go to the Bob and reverse the effects of the machine to bring back the lives of King Jingling and, of course, Bottles the Mole. He can finally go eat dinner at his house. Jingling and Klungo tell Bottles that we should throw a party for when Banjo comes back from defeating Grunty, so that's exactly what they do. We head our way to the top of the tower, and we can finally beat Grunty for real this time. She uses the ground digger, the Hag 1, to attack you with not only the giant drill, but also with lasers and her own magic. You do a variety of things to take her down, and she even has more quizzes for you to answer. The main goal is to shoot her with Kazooie, while she pokes out the Hag 1 and avoid her magic spells. And you even go inside the Hag 1 with the Mecha Kazooies, to blow up the inside so that it stops working, forcing Grunty to rely on her magic. But she also activates toxic gas, so that your time is limited. This fight is really fun and awesome, but eventually you finally beat her, and the Hag 1 explodes into bits. Banjo and Kazooie go to Bottle's house with more of their friends, and we see that Klungo ate all the food and is now sleeping on the floor with a little party kazoo. Man, this game is so detailed and funny. And Mumbo and Humba start arguing over who was the better shaman, but Banjo and Kazooie had a bright idea. To play catch with Gruntilda's head on top of the tower. Grunty mentions that she'll be back in Banjo 3, but if you're a Banjo fan, you know that that game never happened, sadly. Thus ending Banjo-Tooie. And man, this game was absolutely awesome! Banjo-Tooie is up there with Galaxy 2 as one of the most perfect sequels to any game ever. I don't care if that's a hot take, I enjoy the heck out of this game. It took what made the first game good and make it absolutely better. Added so many new ideas and mechanics that'll make the first game feel underwhelming in comparison. I give Banjo-Tooie a 9.9 out of 10. That is the same rating I gave Mario Galaxy 2, making Banjo-Tooie my brand new favorite N64 game, and is now up there as one of my favorite games of all time.
Banjo-Tooie is one of my favorite games of all time. It is silly, it is over the top, it is fun, it is pretty much everything I love about this era of gaming in early 3D and on the Nintendo 64. It's a great time, and if you've never played it, you definitely need to go give it a shot. And I do think the N64 version is the best way to play it. So do it. Frame dips and all. Jiggy out.
And with that, we have talked about everything we wanted to with this game. Thanks for watching.